Hello everyone, glad to meet you all here. We are from Group 10, History of the English Language, Class A, and now we are going to present about writing in early modern English. My name is Novariza with the lesson number 050, and of course I'm not here alone. There are Fira Ila Maula with lesson number 049, Nurul Afwin with the lesson number 051, and Nur Hadi with lesson number 052. Okay, first we're gonna talk about the emergence of a standard form of written English. Alright, there are a lot of theory regarding how the standardized of English emerged. The most common saying is that it is related to the introduction of the printing press by Dixon, but that is only a fact happening there and does not provide a full explanation. And however, there is another theory came from Fisher in 1996, where he claims that present-day standard English come from Chancery English. But as Slice and Argue in 1993 said that the London English, which gave the rise to a standard form, was essentially East Midlandish and in its characteristics, although sharing northern and southern influences too. Then, if present-day English did not develop from any single mid English dialect, how did it emerge? Well, here comes the theory of Haugen in 1966 that suggested four stages of standard development. First is selection of form, codification of norm of form, elaboration of function, and acceptance by the community. The selection of norm. The selection of norm means selection of a particular variety to become a standard form of a language. The particular variety of language is chosen by the speech community there. After they select a certain variety, Haugen found that the norms of the selected variety are made explicit by the production of printed material, which we call the codification of form. The next stage after codification is elaboration, where the function of the selected and codified variety is complexed. By that, it means that the newly emerging standard must be adequate for a variety of purposes, must also have the potential to be used by various classes of people and communities. Then the last stage, the fourth stage, is acceptance. The standard must be seen to be a viable and useful form that offers something to its users, be it power, prestige, or the opportunity for social and educational advancement. Nevertheless, some point of Huygens theory is oversimplified. Thus, in 1999, Milroy and Milroy give other additional stages, which is diffusion, maintenance, and prescription. The present-day standard English did not come only from a particular variety of English, rather it came from a number of dialects. Thus, in their theory, Nuro and Nuro stated that selection is the process of selecting linguistic features from a range of dialects as standard forms, then codify it in early dictionaries, grammars, and writing guides. Diffusion here means that the codified forms are spread via printing press to the community as whole. The next stage is elaboration. Elaboration is where the emerging standard forms are adapted to in forms of writing that have a high social value. After that, this standard forms coalesce into a social dialect that is accepted as valuable and viable by language users, which is the acceptance stage. The additional stage, the maintenance, means that the new standard is maintained by the printing industry and prescription means prescription means that further codification prescribes the standard and prescriptive ideology preserves it. I think that's all from me. We can next to the to Nur Hadi. Thank you.
Thank you, Novariza. Orthography writing in early modern English. At the beginning of the early modern period, there was little consistency in spelling, such as the word mother might be spelled variously as Modir, Moder, Muder, Modere, and Mother. All of these forms can be found in the Paston letters, a famous collection of family letters from the beginning of the early modern period. And there are some common features of spelling at the beginning of the early modern period. The first, there are two forms of the letter S in use. The practice is to use S when the final letter of a word, but long S used when the letter is word initial or appears in a medial position. Second, U can represent both the vowel sound U and the consonant sound of. Third, of can also represent both the vowel sound U and the consonant sound of. Of is used in word initial position, whether the phoneme to be represented is U or of. Present day English, of course, treats of and U as distinct graphemes, a convention that began around 1630 as a result of a continental influence. Fourth, E tends to be used in place where we would use y in present day English. Accord the letter combination E and y as in divorcing was the only instance in which the letter y would be used. Fifth, an additional point of interest about early modern English spelling is the use of on the end of particular words. The use of final was not arbitrary. Final could indicate the vowel sound in a word was long. For example, Middle English, cast become case, live become life, with become wife, etc. The use of final to indicate vowel length caused a problem in words like written, PDE, written. The solution was to double the medial consonant, resulting in written. Final E was also used to differentiate between words that use S as a plural inflection on the end of the word and those in which S was simply the final letter. For example, adding final to the verse indicates that the word is an adjective, not a plural noun, or in word dance become dance. Thank you.
And then some grammatical characteristic. There are two, pronouns and verb. Pronouns in present-day English take different form depending on number of factors. The factor there are two, possessive function, or the form of the pronoun depend on whether it is the subject or object of the sentence. And then person and number. Determine the form of a pronoun person, a first, second, and third person, and then number, singular or plural. Tabel pronouns in present-day English. There are you, there, we, it, you can see in the table. And then for pronouns in early modern English, there are first person I, second person to, third person he, she, it, and then you can see another in the table. Okay, next. The main difference between pronouns in early modern English and present-day English is the second form. The second form meant for social status. In this way, ye or you could be a singular pronouns too. And then a person of higher social standing could be addressed a person lower down the social hierarchy with either to or they. And then lower social to higher social use ye or you. Ye or you was a more polite form. Okay, next. and then verb. Throughout the development of English, there has been a tendency toward regularization also in present day English. In present day English, in the notes next. Also in present day English have inflection. Example, we say I walk, but she walks. And then you drink, but he drinks. Okay. Unsurprisingly, if at early modern English verb find a greater degree of inflection complexity than in present day English. Okay, we can see in table. The table. In the singular, in present, first person, I walk. And then in the past, walk. For plural, in the present, first person, we walk. Past, we walk. And then you can see another in the table. Okay, next. Early modern English also include an inflection to mark the second person singular form of the verb. Inflection vary according to dialect. Example, the third person at form was a certain inflection. In the north of England, the third person present tense inflection was as example, she walks. And then to third person inflection denote the same grammatical information, but they convey different pragmatic information. Okay, in the second table. Form of the strong verb to give in early modern English. For example, in the first person, I go. In the past, I go. And then we do, and then we go. And then another you can see in the table. For the table and the table, strong and weak form of the verb to help in early modern English. Early modern English base form, help. Strong past tense, help. Weak past tense, help. And then melt, mold, and melt. Swell, swell, and swell. Okay, next. The process of regularization also affects many of the strong verbs in early modern English. Many early modern English strong verb regularize over time to become weak verb. Sometimes verbs that are weak in present day English have both a strong and a weak form in early modern English, like help, like this. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next we're going to talk about the expanding the lexicon. So previously we already talked about how new words were formed in Old English and the Middle English. In the Old English, it is formed via the process of compounding or putting existing words together to form new words. And in the Middle English, it is formed by borrowing words from Latin and French. And now we're going to talk about the expanding the lexicon in early modern English. In the early modern period, there is a considerable disagreement that appear among certain scholars about the way of enlarging the lexicon of English. This disagreement occurred in the second half of the 16th century, and it is also centered on the appropriateness of expanding the vocabulary of English by borrowing words from Latin and other classical language, such as Greek. In this case, this considerable disagreement leads to some writers' opinion. The first one is Sir Thomas Eliot. He believed that the expressive capability and status of the English language could be enriched by borrowing vocabulary from such language, while the other commentators thinks that these loanwords were unnecessarily complex and that it was better to use simple Germanic vocabulary. This disagreement has come to be known as the Inkhorn controversy. In the Inkhorn controversy, those writers who agreed in borrowing of classical vocabulary known as the Inkhorn term, for example, is the Sir Thomas Eliot that I previously mentioned. And those writers who against the use of Inkhorn terms, for example, Sir John Take was expressed his objection. His objection was that our own tongue should be written clean and pure, unmixed and unmingled with borrowing of other tongues. And we also need to know that Czech and others' objection included such no common words. And also, Czech and others demonstrated an overly perspective and prescriptive view of the development of English. Thank you. That's all the presentation about writing in early modern from Group 10. Thank you for watching.